Blue cheese, Minnesota, along with heavy campaigning in Michigan, has many Democrats taking a second look at their traditional blue wall of electoral votes, which is why President Bill Clinton is campaigning there today, followed by Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama tomorrow. So is the blue wall crumbling like blue cheese? CNN's David Chalian is at the magic wall with all the very latest. David?
Jake, it's not entirely clear that it is crumbling, but it is certainly causing heartache for the Democrats. We're looking at this upper Midwest region here, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. This is the heart of Hillary Clinton's electoral map advantage. Take a look at the most recent poll we've seen out of Michigan, 42% to 38%. That's a 4-point race in a state where Barack Obama beat Mitt Romney by 9 points. This is too close for comfort for the Democrats. That's why you see so much campaign activity there. Also, out last night, a brand new Des Moines Register poll in Iowa, 46% to 39%, a 7-point lead for Donald Trump in Iowa. This causes concern not so much about Iowa, which the Clinton folks already thought was out of reach, but what else is happening around Iowa if that is happening in Iowa. Let's go to the electoral map and look at the path to 270. This is the current battleground map. Hillary Clinton at 268, only 2 shy of 270. Where does she go to find it? Well, they feel pretty good about Nevada. They think the early vote there is really good. That gets her over to 274. But this is what's critical. If Donald Trump is able to dig into a place like Michigan, look at that. It drops Hillary Clinton down to 258. Where does she go to find the rest? She must get a big battleground prize like a Florida or a North Carolina. That would do it to get her back over 270. But that is going to require some work. That is why you see Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton heading to Michigan in the final days. They need to keep fortifying that blue wall. Jake?
So just how worried should Democrats be? With me here, our panel.
Want to have a big conversation coming up. Let me just remind all of you, Hillary Clinton, she's about to speak to voters in the battleground state of Michigan. We just saw her hop off the plane in Grand Rapids. Then she heads to Philadelphia, where she will rally with her biggest name surrogates, including the president and the first lady. Joining me now, Kayleigh McEnany, Trump supporter and CNN political commentator. Van Jones, CNN political commentator and former special advisor to President Obama. Chris Kofinas is back with us today, Democratic strategist and former communications director for John Edwards, and Matt Schlapp, Trump surrogate and the former political director for George W. Bush. Happy election eve, all. And Van, let me just begin with you. You know, the fact that we're about to hear from Hillary Clinton in Michigan. We know President Obama was talking to the students in Ann Arbor. We know Bill Clinton has been there. Why the emphasis on Michigan? I thought this was part of the blue wall.
Because
Why?
we're terrified. We're terrified. There's a crack in the blue wall. It has to do with trade. Trump took a big gamble. In some ways, he was willing to throw away the Sun Belt, really kind of alienate the Latinos because he thought it would give him a big advantage in the Rust Belt. And so he's trying to pull it in. I don't think he's going to pull it in, but people have no fingernails and their beds are wet.
You agree? You terrified?
No, I'm not terrified. I think it's smart strategy. No, don't worry. Don't worry about your nails. You should be fine. Okay.
Go ahead.
You may want to have a couple cocktails ready just in case. Listen, it's a day of state, which makes it, I think, more complicated.
Yeah.
And we haven't really had a lot of polling. And anytime you get a poll that comes back within 4 or 5, you're wondering, well, it's trending the wrong direction. So I think they're being smart to go there. You have to have a big turnout amongst the African American community in Detroit and other parts of the state, and so they're really, I think, energizing that. At the end of the day, I'm not really worried about it. I think there are demographics there outside Detroit area that give concern, especially when you look at the challenges we're having in Iowa, some of the challenges we're having in Ohio.
Yep.
But I think it's smart strategy to do that. Same thing why she's going to be in Philadelphia tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's smart to go there, make sure that your firewall not only holds, but gets strengthened. And plus, you don't want Van to start.
We don't want any of this. No, oh my God, bad. But no. We don't want any of that. But speaking of nerves and cocktails and biting nails, what about Florida, Kayleigh? Because we were looking at some of the numbers. First of all, more people have already voted in Florida, absentee and early voting, than all of that crazy 2000 election in Florida. So just note that. Number 2, Hispanic vote up 103% from 2008 to 2016. Does that make you want to bite your nails, given that many of these Hispanics may not be voting for your guy?
Well, I'm a Floridian. I love my state. I'm glad we have such high turnout. That's good.
Yeah.
The Latino numbers, I think that we are so almost naive to just drop it all in the Hillary bucket. I do think that there are a large swath of Cuban voters that will vote Trump. That being said, I'm not suggesting Trump's going to win the Latino vote outright, but I think something that is under-discussed is the fact that there are 1.2 million unaffiliated voters who turned out in Florida. We know Trump overperforms among independents. We also know that in Florida,
More Republicans turn out on Election Day.
Absolutely, and also Republicans voting in early is up 2% from 2012. Democrats are down 4%. I think he will pull out Florida. I think it will be a nail biter, but I do think he'll pull out Florida. Sorry, Van.
Where do you wish, Matt Schlapp, perhaps he had spent more time?
Trump?
Yeah.
I think the problem when you keep going back to these same states, when people keep going to Pennsylvania, when they keep going to Florida, that big plane can only land so many places, and you're hitting those same media markets. What I like about what he's done at the end is he's popped into states he hasn't spent a lot of time in. One visit to a state you haven't been in very much has a much greater impact than going back to those same old states. So as a Republican, am I glad we're playing in blue and purplish states at the end? Absolutely. And am I glad that I see the other team going to those very same states? Yeah, absolutely. She's playing for a close win. She's not playing for the Arizona, making progress in Texas win. This is going to be a cloud of dust as far as they're concerned. And so I like what I see strategically from the Trump campaign.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, what I would say is, listen, if you want to be, which of the candidates you want to be today, you definitely want to be Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is, I think, par for the course. In terms of where the map is and where it's headed, you definitely want to be Hillary Clinton. Now, in terms of the strategy for Trump, he had no other option but to go to these different places because he simply does not have the math unless he cracks that blue wall.
Does it help him to be the underdog? I've heard Kellyanne Conway say, I like being the underdog.
No.
That could work to their
Slightly.
advantage.
Look, I agree with you, Chris, that there is slight advantage Hillary Clinton right now. The numbers suggest that. But the enthusiasm is on Trump's side. And being an underdog, I think you are guaranteeing that those rallies we see of 20,000 here, 20,000 there, a lot of times these are rallies announced 6 hours in advance.
But rallies
Those folks are going to turn
don't
out.
translate into votes.
Hold on, but here's the deal. I think that two things are happening. There is visible enthusiasm from a lot of the white kind of pro-Trump voters, but there's an invisible surge with the Latinos. And so we don't know yet which of these surges is going to be the most important. And also I think it's what we want to be clear about too, is that the fact that in Arizona he might win by 2, that's insane.
No, it's not. That state is trending.
Well, and he accelerated that trend by his position on immigration. And also, when you look at other places, Georgia, he might win by 4 in Georgia. So
look,
something is happening in your party where the purple is gaining in the red a lot more than it's gaining in the blue.
I got a lot of respect for you, but even in 2004, we had early indicators in Arizona, in Georgia, and Louisiana. That's always that next ring of states that we worry about if you have a big African American turnout, et cetera. So I think actually what we're seeing here is different from what we're saying. I think that she is worried about these blue states. I think on the early vote, I could give you as many talking points and facts as to why actually what's happened in the early vote shows that this is going to be close and could be a Trump win, as I could hear about these other talking points. You look at the Hispanic turnout in Florida. It's not just the Cuban turnout, it's also the Puerto Rican turnout. Those voters, immigration is not their number one issue. They're Americans.
But
the I-4 let me finish. And the I-4 corridor is a place where Republicans do very well.
So let's look at Florida, just the numbers.
Okay.
Right now in Florida, as of today, Hillary Clinton is up about 88,000 early votes. Barack Obama was up about 110,000 or so early votes around this time.
Yeah.
He won the state by 72,000 votes. Right now, here's the big unknown. I will grant to everyone. Right, we have had a surge in some of these key battlegrounds amongst independents, and the argument the Trump people will say is, well, the independents are going to track his way. But here's the reality: if you look at the polls, especially for example the Wall Street Journal poll today, independents are trending her way. If she pulls off, and historically that's not